Hello everyone. This is an analysis of the plot and themes of the novel The Inheritance of Laws by Kiran Desai. The novel begins with a robbery at Cho Oyu where the judge Jemubai Patel resides with his granddaughter Sai and his cook. The novel then shifts to Biju, the cook's son, in New York where he does a lot of odd jobs at restaurants from delivering food to cleaning dishes. Sai is an orphan whose parents are killed at a bus accident in Moscow. The novel discusses the life of each and every character in a tangled mess of past and the present. As the novel progresses, we come to learn that the judge had once been accepted at Cambridge to study ICS. He had married a 14-year-old girl named Nimi and abuses her continuously. At Choyu, these people are surrounded by a number of other characters like Noni, Lola, Uncle Potty, Father Booty, and others. When Sai becomes 16, Gyan is hired to teach her. Gyan soon joins the Gorkha National Liberation Front. Biju meets different people of different ethnicities in the US. He is subjected to prejudice and he himself harbors prejudice against others. He lives on meager wages, uncomfortable housing arrangements, and in harsh weather conditions. At the same time in India, GNLF, that is the Gorkha National Liberation Front, gains momentum. Libraries are raided and some restaurants almost go out of business. Mon Ami is invaded by Gorkha communities. There is no question of fair trials. Even their dog Mutt is stolen by a woman whose husband is arrested for robbery. The novel culminates in people being displaced from their original locations. Even Biju, unbeknownst of what was happening in India, lands up in Kalimpong. He is raided of his belongings, even his entire attire is robbed of him. In the end, he makes it to Cho Oyu in a pitiable stage and falls into the cook's arms. Let's look at the theme of regional conflicts in the novel. After the Indian independence in 1947, there were a lot of Nepalis in India. In 1980s, Subhash Singh began a movement calling for the creation of a state called Gorkha land within India, separate from the existing state of West Bengal. In 1986, there were widespread chaos, attacks, and riots in July in Kalimpong and for the rest of the year in other places as well. The political insurgency was characterized by violent riots, processions, roadblocks, robbery, and invasion of private spaces, all of which are discussed in the novel. Let's now discuss the theme of cultural conflicts. There are primarily three kinds of cultural clashes in the novel. The first one is Indian versus English. Judge and Sai predominantly follow the British way of living. This is very evident through their manner of eating and the kind of food they consume. The next clash is Indian versus the American culture. Biju, trying to fit in a culture which he is quite sure that will never accept him, is an example of how there is a contrast between the Indian and American cultures. He is treated with prejudice, stereotypes are imposed on him, and he understands that he will never quite fit in like he does in India. The next conflict is India versus the Gorkha community. The Gorkhas demand for a separate land and language to be taught in schools, hence they do not feel a part of India. Although India is a land of diverse cultures, all the cultures are struggling to get a recognition or a specific status of their own, and this is visible through the demands of GNLF. Let's move on to the theme of colonization and globalization. If we apply Homi Bhabha's theory here, we understand that Judge mimics the British. Mimicry in simple terms is defined as imitating someone or something in such a way that you and the person or the thing being imitated are almost the same but not quite. Here, the judge, aching for a modern lifestyle, lives an English lifestyle. He goes to Cambridge and returns to India as a man who appropriates the English culture. And this is evident through certain characteristics of his, such as living on the peripheries of the country, his food habits, reading books by English authors, and abusing Nimi for trivial things such as squatting on the toilet seat. Globalization is also called a neo-colonial force. In fact, it is referred to as the colonization of developing countries. In 1980s, India was hoping to attain modernity. In fact, urbanization was underway. In this novel, Judge tries to live like an Englishman in India while Biju tries to live like an Indian in New York. This is exactly why both of them never fit in a society that is undergoing several drastic changes. Let's now discuss the theme of American Dream in the novel. According to the American Dream, life should be better, richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement, regardless of their social class or circumstances of birth. This brings us to the following questions. Is the American Dream available for immigrants and people from the underprivileged sections? Is the American Dream a reality or an illusion for those of us who go to the US for different purposes? Desai does not provide a concrete answer to these questions. However, she lets the readers contemplate on these issues. Let's now discuss the theme of immigration. There are several reasons for immigration. People emigrate for better jobs, to escape poverty, to earn a living, and mostly for financial reasons. But they are always haunted by the thought of home. When you immigrate, your thoughts of where you belong don't end there. You're constantly wondering where home is. We think of home sometimes as a distant past, a memory, or a place you can return to if everything else fails. The cook's dream of sending his son to America is a source of pride for him. But the question is, at what cost is this happening? Whose life is being sacrificed in the process? And is that sacrifice absolutely necessary? Or is it an illusion which we fall prey to? Biju lives a double life. His letters are a lie. One is his reality, while the other is the facade that he puts up for his father. Immigration also hints at the familial responsibility, the pressure that the cook places on his son Biju. Kiran Desai deals with the theme of immigration at length and uses a sensitive approach to address several issues concerning immigration. According to me, this novel is an embodiment of several conflicts. The first conflict is Indian versus foreign, which includes English and American. The judge is a symbol of the conflict between Indian and the English cultures, while Biju is the symbol of the conflict between Indian and American cultures. The second conflict is tradition versus modernity. The cook is a representative of the tradition. He aspires for modernity and he understands that modernity is something that only Biju can attain and not himself. Cho Oyu itself is a place that is defined by the conflict between tradition and modernity. While Sai is driven by love and emotion, Gyan is driven by logic and reason. Animal life versus human life, Mutt and the accused are both treated badly and beaten up brutally. The conflict between the self and the nation can also be called as the conflict between alienation and attachment to the country. Sai, Judge and the Gorkhas feel alienated from the Indian culture, but the Gorkhas are more attached to the Indian subcontinent than Sai and Judge, who live on the peripheries of the country and its culture. The conflict between desire and duty can be best understood through Biju's wishes and Biju's role as a son. Gyan's love for Sai symbolizes his desire, while him fighting for the Gorkha cause symbolizes his duty. The plot and themes of the novel, The Inheritance of Laws, have thus been discussed. Thank you.